It's about people, performance, and purpose.
We are urging all nations to recognize the inherent right in the ocean.
Ocean governance concerns every one of us.
Take what you learned today with you. We have the tools, we have the technology.
Let's end the ocean emergency.
Welcome to the Ocean Race Summit.
My name is Danny Washington, and I am your host for today, and I would officially like to welcome all of you to the Ocean Race Summit Itajaí. Thank you for being here. So I've worked, just a quick introduction about myself, I've worked in ocean conservation for the last 15 years as a science communicator and as a television presenter in the United States. I use the majority of my energy to engage the next generation in ocean advocacy using science, the arts, and creative media to spark positive change for our ocean. I'm also a marine biologist and the founder of an NGO called Big Blue and You in Miami, where I'm from. I've hosted the Ocean Race Summits since 2020, and it's really an honor to be a part of the Ocean Race family. Participating in the Ocean Race Summits is important to me because we are urgently looking for stronger collaboration between global current leaders who are deciding on policies, scientists, athletes, and ocean advocates in order to accelerate our collective human journey toward a just, equitable, and regenerative future for all. This is one of many in our series of Ocean Race Summits, thanks to 11th Hour Racing, one of the race's premier partners and the founding partner of our sustainability program. It's the Ocean Race's 4th time here in Itajaí, and we love being in this fantastic city. The warm welcome and the amazing work that happens here it makes it really special, and this is why this stopover is one of the best. So big thank you to our host city partners here in Itajaí for helping us make this summit possible. This is my second time to Brazil, and it's really a treat to experience this country once again. I grew up in Miami, where I met many Brasileiros and other South Americans over the years, and I've always appreciated Brazil's vibrant and energetic culture. Recently, I had the opportunity to travel to Recife in the north and enjoyed the enchanting island of Fernando de Noronha, which was a life-changing opportunity. The amount of marine biodiversity in this archipelago was breathtaking, alongside the beautiful sunsets and the gorgeous beaches. But today, we are facing a critical juncture in human history, beckoning all of us, everyone, to step up and do their part for people and the planet. Brazil is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world, and it provides an opportunity, an important opportunity, to inspire millions of South Americans and global citizens to cultivate a healthier relationship with the ocean. We have an exciting lineup of speakers today talking about the Southern Ocean, nature's and ocean rights, as well as the blue economy and ocean health solutions to share. And we're gonna look at ocean rights and how can we move forward to recognizing ocean rights worldwide. So a little housekeeping before we get started. First of all, the restrooms, the baños, they're outside these back doors to the left, so feel free to use them when you need. Second, if you could silence your cell phones, we'd really appreciate that, just so it doesn't disrupt our talk. Third, you can pick up your headsets. If you need a translation, because we will be speaking in English and Portuguese today, you can pick up your headset in the back. Channel 1 is Portuguese, and channel 3 is English. And finally, stick around later. After the summit, we will have a beautiful reception with lots of refreshments and great networking at the end, so please hang out with us afterward. Before we begin our program, I'm honored to invite the Tekoa Taruma tribe to the stage to lead us in an official land acknowledgement and a traditional song celebrating the space we're occupying today.
Boa tarde, de Carúdio. Assim, primeiramente agradecer essa oportunidade de a gente estar aqui nesse lugar, nesse evento. É uma honra muito grande a nossa família Guarani estar aqui, né? Então, eu vou apresentar o nosso grupo, coral Braire Coé, quer dizer, canto sagrado do povo Guarani da aldeia Tequatarumã. Meu nome é Wilson, sou cacique da Cagomirim, mesmo até Itarumã, né? Vou apresentar aqui a nossa cacique que está aqui, acompanhando a gente aqui.
Boa tarde, meu nome é Andréia, sou a cacique da Itarumã, que ela fica em Araquari. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês, né? Agradecida por vocês todos e até, obrigada.
Então tá, vamos apreciar a música.
Thank you to the chief, thank you to the elders of the tribe, and thank you to the youth who are here to share their voices with us. It's vitally important that we recognize indigenous peoples' rights as well as their original ideas about how to be stewards of the land. They are right now the stewards, and they always will be. Many indigenous principles can serve as the blueprint for designing a regenerative future, and it holds the keys to rebuilding harmony between humankind and nature. Once again, I'm your host, Danny Washington, and it is an honor to be here with you. As a coastal city, Itajaí and the people of Itajaí have a unique opportunity to connect with both the land and the sea on a daily basis, which provides an opportunity for this city to lead with sustainable innovation. The mayor couldn't be with us today, but we have someone equally invested in the future of Itajaí here with us to welcome us to this wonderful city. We're very happy to have the Secretary of Tourism and Events and Economic Development of Itajaí. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Thiago Marastoni.
Cumprimentando meu querido amigo Richard Brizios, eu estendo o cumprimento a todas as autoridades mencionadas pelo protocolo, mas muito especialmente a cada uma que está aqui conosco hoje, nosso querido amigo Torben, todos muito bem-vindos. Excelentíssimos palestrantes, convidados, participantes do The Ocean Race Summit Itajaí. É com grande alegria que dou as boas-vindas a todos ao Brasil e à nossa bela cidade, em nome do prefeito Volney Morastoni. Este evento não é apenas um grande encontro para debater políticas públicas de sustentabilidade e defesa dos direitos do oceano, mas também uma celebração da terceira perna da regata, que percorreu quase 24 mil quilômetros pelo oceano ao redor do mundo, na maior e mais difícil competição náutica de todos os tempos. Itajaí é uma cidade que tem o mar no seu DNA. Desde a primeira vez que recebemos a The Ocean Race em 2012, nossa cidade cresceu e se desenvolveu em torno da sua vocação náutica. O mar é fundamental para a economia, lazer e turismo da nossa cidade. Por isso, cuidar dele é preponderante para nós. A The Ocean Race é uma competição que se tornou um símbolo da luta pela proteção dos oceanos. Seus colaboradores e equipes em todo o mundo têm trabalhado para impulsionar o conceito de direitos do oceano, para dar voz aos oceanos e criar uma abordagem global para proteger o mundo marinho. Um trabalho que precisa ser reconhecido e incentivado. Em 2018, Itajaí assinou com a Organização das Nações Unidas o protocolo Mares Limpos e, desde então, vem ampliando as ações pelo combate à poluição. Por meio de lei, abolimos o uso de canudos de plástico em estabelecimentos e espalhamos ecopontos de coleta, intensificamos as campanhas em favor da correta separação de resíduos, sem falar na não utilização de plástico em eventos públicos. Entendemos a preservação do meio ambiente como essencial para a continuidade do desenvolvimento econômico e social, sem prejudicar os recursos naturais e os ecossistemas marinhos. Por isso, a sustentabilidade é uma pauta tão importante para nós. Devemos garantir a proteção dos ecossistemas marinhos e costeiros, a biodiversidade e a qualidade de vida das comunidades locais. É por isso que precisamos garantir os direitos do oceano, como o acesso à água potável, a proteção da vida marinha e a promoção da pesca sustentável. Como secretário de Desenvolvimento Econômico e de Turismo de Itajaí, destaco a importância dessa preservação para o nosso futuro e das próximas gerações. Sendo a The Ocean Race um evento que promove a conscientização sobre a importância da manutenção do meio ambiente, nos ajuda a mostrar ao mundo que é possível conciliar o desenvolvimento econômico e social com a sustentabilidade. Por fim, gostaria de conclamar o governo brasileiro a explorar e promover o conceito e desenvolvimento dos direitos do oceano. Precisamos garantir a proteção de nossos recursos naturais e do meio ambiente, para garantir um futuro melhor para nós e para as próximas gerações. É uma honra participar da The Ocean Race e desse Summit de Sustentabilidade. Espero que juntos possamos nos engajar na luta pela sustentabilidade e pelos direitos do oceano, para que possamos garantir um futuro melhor para todos. Sejam muito bem-vindos a Itajaí. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morastoni, and we appreciate you joining us today and sharing your insights about sustainability efforts happening here in Itajaí. Next, I would like to introduce an ocean advocate and a lifelong sailor who is committed to using his platform to elevate the voice of the ocean, the Ocean Race Chairman, Richard Brisius.
Wonderful. So amazing that we are here in Itajaí together for the Ocean Race Summit in Itajaí, and we are honored to have excellencies here together with us and friends of the ocean. And I think that to stand here, we have been in Itajaí for the 4th time. It's a true honor on behalf of the whole Ocean Race team to express a warm welcome to each one of you to the Ocean Race Summit here today. And I'm especially grateful, not the least to our host, the city of Itajaí and the state of Santa Catarina, and of course our founding partner, 11th Hour Racing, and Volvo Cars, our premier partner, who is here with us today as well. And listening to this wonderful music, I shall tell you that when I'm here in Itajaí, I have the privilege of living on the outstanding Cabeçudas beach, and I fall asleep and wake up every morning to the most wonderful of voices, the voice of the ocean. And it's a mighty roar, I must say, as these mighty ocean waves hit the shore. And as an ocean person, I really like that sound. And I have learned, thanks to these summits, the previous summit, that it is by understanding that life really is animated water. And this might sound a bit strange to you, but you are the ocean. And by understanding that the ocean is you and that there is no separation, that is how we can change perspective and respect the ocean as a brother or sister, if you want, and rather than this thing that we use, or this thing that we take things from, or this thing that we dump things into. And still, we are not close to being close to people understanding that. And biking here in the mornings to this Ocean Life Park, I look out over the ocean, and I realize that probably one of the most important but still best kept secret on this planet amongst the billions of people is that the ocean is most of the planet, and the ocean is shaped this planet, and it was every stream and every cloud and every raindrop. It all comes back to the ocean, and one way or the other, every living thing here needs the ocean. And the ocean doesn't need us humans. We need the ocean. And just one simple fact for all of us. If you have an interest in breathing oxygen in the future, then you have an interest in the future of the ocean. Phytoplankton, a tiny plant-based organism that lives in the sea, is responsible for producing 50% of the oxygen on Earth, every second breath that we are taking. And you are here today because you know there's no time left to beat around the bush around these matters. We know horrible things are happening to the ocean. And just one significant example from my home country, Sweden, we are next to the Baltic Sea, and the Baltic Sea is the most polluted part of the ocean probably. It's so polluted, there's a big dead zone in the middle of it, and many fish species are forbidden to eat by young people and pregnant women because of poison pollution. And in sport, which is ultimately our platform where we come from, we like fair play and we like fair rules, of course. But for the ocean, there is no fair play. And our sailors represented here today, they really witnessed it themselves, what's going on out on the high seas, where we still have people plundering the ocean, strip mining the ocean. And what we need is sharper governance, sharper management to allow the ocean to thrive. And as we are privileged to gather here today at the Ocean Race Summit in Itajaí, we must acknowledge that it is actually our responsibility to change this, to step up for the rights of the ocean, to step up for fair play for the ocean, and to seek equity for the ocean. And positively, I have also learned over these past years that we can heal much of the harm we've done to the ocean. So there is great hope, but we need to take action now. And this race, the Ocean Race, has been, we are on our 50th anniversary, and since 1973 we've been racing around the world every 4 years. And this is a race where East meets West and North meets South, and over a beautiful course of 33,000 nautical miles, racing around the world through the Southern Ocean, which is probably the greatest of oxygen factories you can find, the Southern Ocean. And the Ocean Race, it is about people, it is about passion, and it is about purpose. And our purpose, it is to do the extraordinary and motivate the people to do the extraordinary to restore ocean health. And what's clear to any sailor doing this race is that the ocean is not a dividing area. The ocean is a common area for all of mankind. And sport really has the capacity to change the world. And sport in general, and possibly around the world racing in particular, have this ability to bring people together across borders and promote good and great values such as trust and care and always doing our best for ourselves and for others and the world we live in. So just allow me to acknowledge the sailors who finished and crossed the finish line out here, having sailed the longest leg ever of this race, from Cape Town through the Southern Ocean, around Cape Horn, and up into Itajaí. And in Cape Town, the skipper of one of the boats, Boris Herman on Malizia, he said that starting this leg, it feels like jumping off a cliff into the unknown. And as it turned out, he was kind of right in his description, because the stories that we've seen of friendship, of hardship, of setbacks, of comebacks, of successes, and ultimately of victory is probably context of stories that if the great J.R. Tolkien would still be with us, he would be inspired to write the 4th episode of the Lord of the Rings series. But seeing and hearing the crew members down on the dock here in the early morning when they finished this leg made me feel very happy, because shaking their hands, looking into their eyes, hearing the stories and of accomplishment, authentic accomplishment and teamwork and really doing the incredible together was something that symbolizes this race more than anything, I would say. So in a few moments, I hope we can hear more from one of the sailors, the leading skipper, Kevin Escoffier, who will share more stories from this leg with us. And I don't think I need to underline more that at the Ocean Race, we are ocean people. And for us, the ocean is freedom. For us, the ocean is life. And we passionately, we do every best. We wake up every morning to do our best to contribute to a healthier ocean. And we do that by a great program. We call it the Racing with Purpose program. And we focus on many areas, but 4 of the great areas are improving ocean science. All the boats are gathering between them millions of data points from the oceans, carrying scientific laboratories on board, measuring a number of interesting scientific measuring points that is shared with the scientists of this world. Secondly, we take concrete climate action, both in how we try to deliver the event, but also in how we try to influence others to do so. And thirdly, increasing ocean literacy with hundreds of thousands of kids going through an educational program, which is possibly one of the most important things we really do. Because think about it, when you talk to about the deep sea and the ocean in particular, already at a young age, we are telling the kids that be careful of the ocean. It's scary, it's monsters living deep down there, stay away from it. But in reality, we're just alienating people from the ocean and taking away the understanding that fundamentally the ocean is most of this planet and we need to learn more about it. And we do that, of course, by science and by education. And fourthly, one of the main reasons we gather here today, which is to respect the ocean by acknowledging the inherent rights of the ocean, and we are working towards the creation of a universal declaration of ocean rights. But what does this mean? Well, to us it means that to have an ocean rights perspective in discussions and decision-making means that in a very natural way we will be linking our policies and laws to the fundament of our history and of that of our future. And with an ocean rights perspective, we will make better decisions for future generations. And with an ocean rights perspective, we will base our decisions on the reality, again, that as humans, we are merely one of many, many species on the planet. We might be the ruling one right now, but we are intimately interconnected with the nature, with the ocean as the powerhouse, with the ocean as the mothership of nature. And if you look at the racing side of the ocean race, in ocean racing and in any sailing, speed is fundamental for success. And when you are running a team like Kevin is doing, one of the questions you ask yourself on any decision is, will this make the boat go faster? And if you transfer that with an ocean rights perspective, we will always ask ourselves, will it make the ocean healthier before we make any decisions? And Brazil have always been at the forefront, I think, in both of these areas. And we have Torben Grail with us here today, who represents the history of Brazil in the ocean race probably better than anyone. You weren't in the first race in 1973 when we first did this race, but we stopped back in 1973. But my good friend Torben, you skippered Brazil 1 in 2005 and then went on to win the race in 2009 with Ericsson 4. Well done, Torben. And not only that, Andrea and Torben, you also have a great daughter, Martina Grail, who did the race last time and beat your 24-hour speed record, if I remember correctly. And you told me, Torben, that in putting the crew together for Brazil 1, one of the many challenges probably was to convince the crew to go down and sail in the cold of the Southern Ocean, because there you cannot only wear Speedos. It's pretty cold down there. So, but you showed that you could really carry that out in a good way. But one of the reasons, talking of Antarctica, that we are here today is because we would like to shine a light on that. Kumlar has proposed marine protected areas for a long, long time for consideration in the Southern Ocean and in Antarctica. And the science has been applied already, and it all falls in the favor. So if Kumlar approves all or some of these MPAs, we have a fighting chance of reaching the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal 14. And on the same note, I'm delighted to say that we have joined forces with the Antarctic and Southern Ocean Coalition, the Pubert Arelli Ocean Trust, and other leaders in ocean conservation. And I really encourage all of you to do the same to protect our icy core of our blue planet. And just in closing, the global causes, they are important, but as important is to work closely on where you sit and where you stand and where you live. And on that note, I'd like to acknowledge the local Agenda 21 group, the Venciun here. And Brazil is actually the founding country where this all was founded back in 1992. And talking of leaders, I'd like to just acknowledge Volvo Cars here. And Volvo Cars, you've been part of not only creating this summit series, but you've been behind the race for over 2 decades. And we have a great journey in front of us. And you've been showing really how to work on a sustainable way going forward, not the least here in Brazil, where Volvo is the unrivaled electric leader and only sell recharge cars by now, which is amazing. So I'm proud to introduce to you the man who is leading this journey, Luis Resende, the president and leader of Volvo Cars in LATAM. And in welcoming you on stage, Luis, I'd like to close on behalf of the whole Ocean Race team and say a warm welcome to each one of you today. Luis, please.
Bom, vou falar em português então, tudo bem, né? Obrigado, Richard, pelo momento, obrigado, prazer estar aqui com vocês. Sou Luis Resende, presidente da Volvo para a América Latina. Para nós, a Ocean Race é uma parte muito importante, porque, como o Richard comentou, nós somos parceiros há mais de 20 anos nessa jornada. Ainda somos parceiros, espero que continuemos também pelos próximos eventos. Itajaí tem se tornado um lugar muito bacana Antes era no Rio de Janeiro, passamos a Itajaí, já estamos na 4ª edição aqui em Itajaí, e dessa vez com um motivo muito especial para nós também. Amanhã, inclusive, nós faremos a inauguração de um eletroposto, dando spoiler aqui, o pessoal de marketing vai me matar, mas é bacana, porque eu acho que nós temos que deixar legados. E em Itajaí a gente vai deixar um eletroposto para recarga de carros rápida. Não é o primeiro do estado de Santa Catarina, mas é o primeiro na cidade, em parceria com a WEG, que também é do estado, super importante, mas também é o primeiro que nós fazemos com eles ao longo de uma jornada de mais de 28 postos de recargas que nós estamos colocando no Brasil inteiro. E por que a Volvo está fazendo isso, principalmente no Brasil? Porque a gente foi parte do problema. Sim, carros poluem e continuam poluindo. A gente era parte do problema, mas agora a gente quer ser parte da solução. Nosso compromisso, assinado na COP, junto com a Unesco, COP 27, é que nós seremos 100% elétrico a partir de 2030. Em 2025, 50% dos nossos veículos serão elétricos, só que no Brasil, esse número já acontece esse ano. 50% das nossas vendas vão ser de carros elétricos. Eu estou falando da segunda marca premium que mais vende carro no país. Eu estou falando da marca que mais vende carro elétrico no país. Então, nós temos autoridades para falar sobre isso. Somos defensores da bandeira, nós sabemos o dano que nós causamos ao planeta, mas nós sabemos que nós podemos ser a solução também. Essa é a nossa contribuição. Richard, mais uma vez, a todos, muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Richard and Luis. We're really happy that you're here with us today. And Richard, as always, it's great to hear you speak your passion on stage. So thank you again for that introduction. So now I want to introduce a really easy way that you can get involved with supporting ocean rights right now. So behind me, you see this QR code here. This is our One Blue Voice campaign, which is a way for the people to say something and to stand up for rights, to speak up for the ocean and to stand up for the ocean. And so if you'd like to scan this code with your smartphone, you can easily sign our petition. Now, we need more signatures. Our goal is 50,000 signatures by September, so we can present this to the United Nations. And so if you could help us spread the word, we'd really appreciate it. So now, here to share more about her work for nature's and indigenous people's rights, I'm honored to welcome Kereshu, Secretary of Environmental and Indigenous Territorial Rights at the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples. Please, round of applause for Kereshu.
Olá, boa tarde a todas e a todos. Primeiro, quero agradecer, o convite para participar nesse evento. Embora eu seja aqui de Santa Catarina, é a primeira vez que eu recebi o convite e fui me aprofundar um pouco sobre a proposta, o projeto de como estava sendo apresentado e na linha, que eu, Querechu, como povo guarani, indígena, aqui no território do Morro dos Cavalos, em Santa Catarina, e que nós, povo guarani, também trazemos muito esse respeito com os oceanos. E aí, conforme eu vou também me inteirando no meio da sociedade, eu vou para essa linha da gestão ambiental, que é um espaço onde me coloca também para entender esse processo dos mares, das florestas, dos oceanos. Mas mais do que isso, ainda, eu vou assumir um espaço de coordenação do povo guarani, da Mata Atlântica, que fica em 6 estados do Brasil, e todos os estados que são banhados pelo Oceano Atlântico. E aí, assim, para mim é muito meu, esse espaço também para falar sobre esse assunto. Então, assim, no decorrer do tempo, que a gente vem seguindo nessa caminhada na defesa dos direitos dos povos indígenas, né, que a gente tem toda essa luta muito grande falando sobre o direito aos territórios, o direito ao nosso modo de vida. E aí a gente vem também nessa linha do direito falando sobre a questão ambiental. E aí, junto dele, a gente vem falar sobre os nossos biomas. E aí eu gostaria assim, muito de colocar vocês, que hoje eu estou no espaço político também, né? Assumindo uma secretaria no governo federal, onde o meu trabalho continua como indígena, né? Como uma técnica, mas também hoje como uma autoridade para falar sobre essa questão dos direitos. E quando eu recebo o convite para vir nesse encontro, que vai diretamente falar sobre os direitos do oceano, aí assim é algo assim, que para mim me brilha os olhos, né? Porque de ver assim que é tão importante a gente estar nesses espaços, que é tão importante a gente estar falando do mesmo assunto, que é tão importante a gente saber do que a gente está falando, né? Então, assim, acho que todos que passaram por essa mesa aqui e fizeram as suas falas, vem muito desse encontro de como que nós hoje devemos pensar como seres humanos, né? Nesses lugares, desses seres águas, né? Porque nós, como povos indígenas, entendemos que todos nós somos uma comunidade, nós somos seres, né? Somos esse grupo de seres vivos e que nós dependemos um do outro, né? Como o Richard fala aqui, né? Não, eles não dependem de nós dependemos deles, né? E aí a gente vê a nossa responsabilidade. Onde está a nossa responsabilidade hoje, né? No ambiente que a gente vive e num ambiente onde a gente depende muito, que os oceanos, que são o que nos fornece hoje mais 50% do ar que a gente respira hoje, né? E a outra parte, a gente precisa pensar nisso também, né? E a outra parte, né? 50% aqui, 50% ali. Então, acho que a gente precisa entender todo esse sistema, todo esse planeta, todo esse bioma como um corpo. Que para ele andar, ele precisa ter esse equilíbrio. Se a minha mão está machucada, mesmo que eu esteja com as pernas boas, eu vou sentir dor. E é dessa forma que nós, povos indígenas, entendemos. E é dessa forma que hoje, através de grandes projetos, de grandes ideias que são trazidos como esse, que nós também, dentro desse cenário político, estamos trazendo essa proposta de mudança, né? Nós estamos chamando do projeto do Reflorestar Mente, porque é a gente ter essa consciência de entender quem somos nós, de onde viemos e para onde nós queremos ir, né? A partir do momento que a gente traz essa consciência desse reflorestar mente, é como se plantasse uma sementinha aqui, uma sementinha ali, a gente fizesse uma semeadura e a gente tivesse, então, no nosso futuro, aquilo, né? Que aqueles que chegaram primeiro, né, que são aqui os que contaram o histórico, né, que vieram, que tiveram a ideia de trazer o projeto, que amanhã os netos, bisnetos, né, vivenciem esse anseio, mas também que levem para as próximas gerações, né. Então nós estamos nesse caminho hoje, né, um caminho lá no Ministério dos Povos Indígenas, fazendo essa defesa da terra, da água, do ar, né? Tudo isso são que nós, e aí eu falo nós, seres humanos, nós, seres vegetais, nós, seres cristais, né? Que a gente tem as pedras também, que são tão importantes, né? Para esses lugares onde a gente convive e a gente não dá o mínimo de valor. Mas é nós, né? Fazem parte, existe esse grupo de seres. E aí a gente pensar, nós como seres humanos, vivemos no mesmo planeta, somos um filho do mesmo pai, de uma mesma mãe. Portanto, somos uma família, devemos o respeito e a proteção, para que a gente consiga viver em harmonia, em paz, em abundância, nesse território onde a gente pisa hoje e respira esse ar. E aí, assim, eu queria trazer também a essa questão, né, para ir já para os encerramentos, né, das finaleiras da minha fala, eu queria trazer também essa questão, né, de nós nesse momento, né, pensar esse corpo que eu falo, que é o nosso território, que é o nosso espaço, e que a gente vai olhar dentro de um histórico de destruição, a gente vê que eles, primeiro do que nós, começou a ser destruído e exterminado, esses seres. E para nós também, como povos indígenas, nós trazemos os 4 elementos, as 4 direções, os 4 povos, as 4 cores, né? E a gente traz também as energias, né? E que para nós a energia principal, que eu vi aqui alguém falando anterior, que é a energia da cor azul, que é a energia verdadeira, né? Então, o nosso planeta ele é composto de uma energia verdadeira. E aí eu queria trazer aqui para vocês que nesse momento, aqui nessa região, na Mata Atlântica, no Oceano Atlântico, é esse espaço a começar a destruição aqui no Brasil, né? Que é por aqui que começa toda a destruição e a exploração. E que hoje nós estamos passando por um momento também de tentativa de destruição nas nossas florestas amazônicas, que é considerado o pulmão do mundo. E aí, para a gente refletir, quando a gente tem o braço, as pernas, o nosso corpo, né, todo mutilado, todo destruído, né, todo espancado, e quando a gente chega na parte do coração, na parte do pulmão, a começar a ser atingido, nós estamos num momento muito crítico. No momento do final da nossa vida, né? Porque pulmão é onde nós transmitimos e respiramos o ar. Então, como mensagem, a gente vai falar sobre a proteção desses espaços. Nós vamos falar sobre a regeneração desses espaços e nós vamos falar também do reflorestamento desse espaço. A gente precisa urgentemente trazer nessa nossa consciência que, mais do que a gente proteger, mais do que a gente criar esses projetos, né, que vêm trazer essas ideias maravilhosas, a gente precisa também reparar o erro que foi cometido no passado. Nem que nós não estamos ligados nessa história diretamente hoje, mas nós fazemos parte desse ambiente. Então, a gente precisa começar com essa reparação para a gente conseguir dar esse espaço para o futuro. Até.
We truly appreciate your presence here today, Querechu. Thank you for your words of wisdom and being here. And we'll hear more from Querechu a little bit later during one of our panels, so please stick around for that. For the very first time in the Ocean Race history, we stopped over at the northwest coast of Africa in Cabo Verde. So this archipelago of Cabo Verde was wonderful. We had a great time, and we also had the Secretary General of the United Nations join us at our Ocean Race Summit in Mindelo in January. And now we have the delight to receive a message from the Prime Minister of Cabo Verde, Ulisses Correa y Silva, who certainly would have liked to have been here today, but he sends his regards. Let's hear from Prime Minister Silva.
Minhas saudações ao The Ocean Summit Itajaí, país irmão Brasil. Desejo que seja um sucesso. Em janeiro, a cidade do Mindelo, em Cabo Verde, acolheu a segunda etapa da Ocean Race e o evento Ocean Summit. Foram momentos únicos, uma etapa da maior regata do mundo e a realização da Cimeira dos Oceanos, com a participação do secretário-geral das Nações Unidas, António Guterres. Mindelo e Cabo Verde vibraram com a Ocean Race. Foram momentos impactantes, debates sobre temas importantes, ações de sensibilização sobre a proteção dos oceanos, atividades culturais, impacto econômico na ilha e promoção internacional de Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde é um pequeno estado insular em desenvolvimento. A nossa zona marítima é muito superior ao território terrestre. Somos 99% mar. Por razões de sustentabilidade, de proteção econômica e de segurança, o mar e a economia azul são alta prioridade nas nossas políticas públicas. Temos a consciência da nossa responsabilidade comum e cooperativa no quadro da proteção dos oceanos comuns que nos unem. Por isso, reafirmamos nas cimeiras dos oceanos o nosso forte compromisso com a causa da conservação e uso sustentável dos mares e oceanos. Manifestamos a nossa total adesão ao apelo do Secretário-Geral das Nações Unidas à ação para salvar os oceanos e proteger o futuro do planeta. No Ocean Summit, adotamos a Declaração de Mindelo, que expressa bem o compromisso com os direitos dos oceanos. Saudamos o importante progresso recentemente conseguido com o Acordo das Nações Unidas para a proteção da biodiversidade marinha em águas internacionais. A mobilização de recursos para a implementação dos objetivos ambiciosos ao nível da biodiversidade é uma expectativa dos CITES que gostaríamos de ver concretizada na chamada para a ação. À semelhança dos demais CITES, Cabo Verde é um defensor do Tratado Internacional Regulador, legalmente vinculativo para o combate à poluição por plásticos. A Ocean Race, sob a liderança de Richard Bruces, tem sido uma grande promotora da proteção dos direitos dos oceanos. A chamada para a ação, a partir do Brasil, tem muita força. Vamos todos juntos defender os oceanos com direitos e com sustentabilidade, em nome do planeta Terra e das atuais e futuras gerações.
Many thanks to Prime Minister Silva for sending this video to us. Once again, our stopover in Cabo Verde was amazing, and we hope maybe it'll be on the stops, maybe another edition of the race. We'll see. Yes. So what you may have heard the Prime Minister say, he mentioned the Mindelo Declaration, which was adopted at the Ocean Race Summit in Cabo Verde. And it outlines a number of things and policies that will help support the ocean. And it calls, number one, for the adoption of a universal declaration of ocean rights and the establishment of legislation that significantly reduces plastic waste from single-use plastic products like plastic bags and straws. And the Prime Minister said that this is something that they're looking to put in place in Cabo Verde permanently through policy. So we're very excited about that. Now, in the 50 years history, our sailing team here at the Ocean Race, all of the teams, they completed the longest leg ever through the Southern Ocean. This challenging leg had sailors travel from Cape Town, South Africa, all the way here to Itajaí, Brazil. And they had to travel through the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is home to numerous species of whales, seals, and penguins. And it's the largest, fifth largest continent in the world. In the simplest terms, Antarctica and the Southern Ocean essentially serve as the air conditioner of the planet. During this portion of the summit, we're going to talk to several talented sailors, as well as one of the world's leading scientists who have had many experiences around the Southern Ocean. And this year in particular is a crucial opportunity to recognize the ocean's rights through one of the most significant acts of ocean protection in human history. That is the large-scale marine protected areas in the Southern Ocean. However, the protection of the Southern Ocean has stalled for years, and the present geopolitical dynamics are not making it any easier to accomplish. So to begin this conversation, first up, I'd like to invite two very well-known sailors, one from Brazil and one from France, to share their insights about their experiences on the open ocean. Please welcome Torben Grael, Olympic and ocean racing champion, as well as Kevin Escoffier, skipper of the leading team Wholesome PRB. Good to see you. Good to see you. Please have a seat. Yes. I'd like this side if that's okay. Great. Good to see you both. Thank you for taking time to be here with us. So first of all, let's just start with how many years have both of you been sailing, and what changes have you seen in the ocean over time through your sailing experience? And let's begin with Torben.
Oh, I have been sailing for very long. I started sailing with my grandfather. My grandfather was Danish, and he immigrated to Brazil in the beginning of the last century to do an engineering job, and fell in love in Brazil and stayed here. So he started sailing here, although he was Danish. He was not sailing over there, and which is quite understandable. It's much better to sail in our climate than in Denmark, I think. But and he passed this passion to the family. So my uncles were great sailors as well. They were 3-time world champions, and they went to the Olympics twice. And I went myself to the Olympics 6 times, and another 2 times as a coach. And we have been a very successful family in the Olympics with 9 medals altogether. So
wow,
it's a passion, and it's something we love to do. But it's been a big change from when I was small and started sailing with my grandfather to today, especially in Guanabara Bay, which is been so polluted, and it's sad. Now we try to make a strong push to improve the quality of the bay during the years before the Olympic Games in Rio. And we actually managed to improve it a lot, but it was all temporary measures. So during the games, actually, the water was much nicer because they had put barriers to prevent plastic to go into the sea, and they improve a lot with the sewage treatment. But since then, they have been abandoned, so we're back to where we were before. Actually, it's getting worse because people keep using plastic, especially single-use plastic, which can't be avoided so much. Not long ago, I was in a plane, and I had my bottle of water empty, and the waiters, the lady came with the water and asked if I wanted a cup of water, and I said, "Can you fill my bottle?" She said, "No, I cannot fill the bottle." So she said, "I don't want the water then."
Right. You had to refuse the plastic.
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So it's something we have to change with the example, I think. And I think working with kids is the best way we have to improve it in the future, I think.
Absolutely. The youth are the key, and educating them on how we can reduce our use of plastics, but also be a part of activities that will help restore the planet. So
I think kids are a lot more open-minded to change. I think when you explain to a kid the damage you're doing with the plastic, I think
they get it.
They get it
they
much
understand.
easier than an adult.
Absolutely. Thank you, Torben. And Kevin, what about you? How many years have you been sailing, and what changes have you noticed throughout your career in the ocean?
I've been sailing since I'm very young. You know, it's a family story. My father was passionate about the ocean. He decided to be able to live from and with the ocean. So he became a fisherman, and then he continued sailing. And the first offshore races I've done, it was with him. We've done double-ended in 2005 on the Jacques Vabre Transat on a multi-hull, and since then I've been offshore sailing all the time. So as Torben was saying, I think it's about being passionate. It's about having a transmission between parents, kids, to meet people that are passionate and that are able to give this feeling to kids. And I think that it's so much easier. Your life is so much easier when you're passionate about something. Everything is easy. When you're passionate about something, you know, it's not even a work. It's not even to have to push to do it. It's easy to do it. So I'm very lucky to be passionate about something, about sailing, about offshore sailing, but not only about that, about the ocean. For me, the first thing when I go sailing is I'm happy to be underwater. I'm happy to spend time there. and then I'm also a competitor. So yes, racing, I'm able to do both. And yes, in the last years, I've been sailing. We can see changes. For example, on the last leg, on leg 3, we've seen that the ice limit. We've got a virtual line. We are not allowed to go more south than that in order not to race in between iceberg or growler. And we've seen that each time we go back there, each time this line is further north. And definitely it's not easy for us to play with the weather forecast, but it's not that we are looking at. It means that the sea temperature is warmer and warmer, and it's something, even if we are not scientists, even if we can help by having data from the boat on plastic analysis with the drifting buoys, we are able to put in the water in order to have the sea temperature, the air temperature, the pressure, in order to help scientists to have better analysis of the climate change. We are helping for that, but the first thing we can see for me, and the most important one, is that the ice limit is more and more north, and it's not a good news because it means that the sea temperature is also warmer.
Meaning the ice is melting and it's moving further north. That's quite startling to see, I'm sure, as you race in each edition of the race. And speaking of competition, Torben, you've been in the America's Cup, the Olympics, and you're one of Brazil's most famous sailors. What is it about the ocean race itself that stands out and that's different than other races that you've participated in?
Well, I think it is sailing around the planet is an accomplishment. No, it's not an easy thing. Sailing altogether, but especially racing around. So I was very young when the race first came to Rio in the 70s, and I saw all these huge boats with all these sailors that they came to visit our club, and it was a big impression. And later on, I started doing some offshore sailing, but we never thought about doing the round the world race. But then after the Olympics, we had in 2004 we had good conditions to put a project here in Brazil, and it came together, and it was a fantastic I think program, that one. It was the first time, because Brazil has a good result in the Olympics in sailing. So the people, because of that, they remember sailing during the Olympics, because it's Brazil's best Olympic sport, which, although it sounds strange, it's true. But
it's important.
But beside the games, nobody remembers sailing very much. And the time we had Brazil won doing the round the world race, it was the first time that the general public, people that don't sail, don't know about sailing, they got so interested in the participation of the team, which was very nice. You could the stopover in Rio was crazy, with so many people wanting to see and coming to the marina, and it was a lot of people that started sailing because of that event, which is crazy, because they were first following the virtual regatta.
Right.
And then after the race, they got it into real sailing.
Yes, and we've had lots of success here at Ocean Live Park in Itajaí. I believe over the weekend there were over 30,000 people who came to visit Ocean Life Park, which is phenomenal. And like you said, it's inspiring the next generation of kids to think about sailing as a possibility for them in the future, which is beautiful. And so, Kevin, you mentioned earlier that the line where you have to travel when you're making your plan to travel through the Southern Ocean, that line where there's a lot of icebergs, it keeps moving every time you journey into the Southern Ocean. What are some of the other things that you may have noticed while you were down there on this particular leg? And how did it feel to be in the Southern Ocean? Like, paint the picture for us about the experience, because it's not la-di-da sailing and enjoying yourself. It's a tough leg. So tell us more about that.
Yes, it's a tough one for sure. But when you're an offshore sailor, I think you're looking for this leg. When you want to go sailing offshore, you definitely don't want to see the coast anymore. It's like you've been a 1 week or 2 weeks downwind leg. You're far from everything. The closest people are the other boat. You're not close to the shore anymore. You're not close to any countries. We've been talking a lot about the Nemo point. We are at a point on Earth where we are the more far from every life. Every life on Earth. So that's, I think, the leg. You're the closest to the ocean and the more far from the land, and it's what I'm looking for. It's not easy, but if you want to look for heavy things, you don't want to do that. I think life is not being looking for to do the heavy things. I think when you want to do hard stuff, you also have the sensations that are coming with that, and each time it's very hard. It's also you enjoy it at the end even more, and it's what I'm looking for. We do that with the crew. We want to set the same goals for the crew in order to achieve what we are able to do. The reason why we are able to spend 1 month together and to still have a good human story, it's because we are all looking for the same thing. And I think it's very important to understand that. If you want to achieve something great, all people with you have to look in the same direction, and you have all to agree on the same goal you're looking for. And it's the only way to do great things. And I think when we are going there, each time we are able to finish a leg, even if we've done second, for example, but it's not the main thing. And I think we will have good souvenirs together.
Absolutely. Now, gentlemen, we have only a couple minutes left, so a couple questions for you, and then we'll move on. But Torben, your daughter, Martine, she is a 2-time Olympic champion and was also in the previous ocean race. How did it feel knowing that she was out there on the Southern Ocean, and what did it feel like when she showed up back in the port? I believe we have a photo of you all from that return.
Well, first of all, when she was not very into big boat sailing or offshore sailing before she decided to sail around, and when she came to me and said, I'm thinking about doing the ocean race, and I said, are you sure? And I asked her 3 times, and she said, no, yeah, I'm sure I want to do it. I said, okay. And then we were following her around, not every port, but we happened to go to New Zealand, which was the start of the Southern Ocean leg for that race. And just before the start, I asked her, you have to promise you wear your harnesses because it's a dangerous leg. And then she said, well, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass, the harness. I said, what? You have to promise you use it because... And then they had this terrible accident, and we were very concerned about her because they were all in the same conditions. But at the end, she enjoyed the leg very much and got home safe.
Beautiful. Well, yes, as you can see in the photo, it's quite an emotional moment, welcoming family back to shore. Kevin, I bet you probably had a similar experience with your loved ones once you landed here in Itajaí. But when we talk about our families and our futures, and especially the youth and how they're leading us into our collective future, we talk about ocean rights as one of those ways to get us there, to where we want to go. And you saw with the One Blue Voice campaign, we are elevating that initiative. What do you think about that concept of having this initiative around the world with people joining together to elevate the voice of the ocean? And how do you as individuals recognize ocean rights? And we'll start with you, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that today I'm very proud to be part of the Ocean Race, because the move that is doing this race, the Ocean Race, a race with a purpose. I think today we can't be winning at all costs. It means that we've been, as a competitor, you know, I understand that very well. We've been pushing all these years in order to be sailing around the world, in order to race. But today I think we are shifting in a way that we can't say that we will win at all costs. And that's also why on each boat, definitely we want to push for something, but we want to push for a race, we want to win something, we want to give the passion of the ocean to kids, as you discussed, but we don't want that. We don't want to do that at all costs, and I think that's also why each team, each boat, each race has also a message to deliver. And the race is not only about being first, but it's also being first with a few conditions and delivering also messages that will help us being able to continue to do this beautiful sport, this beautiful passion on the ocean. We've seen that today. You explained earlier that it took 20 years to have the ocean being having his own rights, and I think it took 20 years to have something obvious. And that thing that what we are showing when we are racing is that we can go much faster than that. If you put a lot of passion, as I said, if everybody has the same goals, if we push all together in the same direction, I think we can go much faster than that, and we have to go faster than that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin. And as you mentioned earlier, your vessel is equipped with science equipment that's collecting data. So you are also serving as citizen scientists throughout this entire ocean race, which is wonderful, and thank you for that. And let's finish it off, Torben. Tell us, what is that winning mindset that we need as a human race to face the challenges that the ocean is currently experiencing, and how do we resolve them?
Well, I think it's very important because people understand the problem is very big, and so it looks like whatever they do, it won't change. It's not true. Every little thing you do helps, especially when he sends a message or an example. So I think that's very important. Like my wife goes every Sunday to clean a little beach we have in front of our house. Now, it doesn't change the whole world or the ocean, but it changes the beach in front of our house. So if everybody does a little thing, now it will get better.
There's nearly 8 billion of us on the planet, so we all did something. That's a huge change.
It's like getting rid of the
single-use straws.
Straws, and it's so many things we can do, and it's step by step, because we have gone backwards. Now, when I was young, like we didn't have plastic the way we have right now, so we actually got worse. So we have to go back to a more clean environment, and it's possible. It's just everybody has to push for it and not buy bags and things that we don't actually need.
Absolutely. Individual and collective willpower is the key. So thank you again, Torben, for your words and being here today. Kevin, I know you're preparing for the next leg, so thank you for taking time to be with us. And we wish you all the best on your journey to Newport, and you as well as the entire team. So thank you all. Please, another round of applause for Torben and Kevin. So for our next panel, Originally, we planned to have 2 speakers, but Damien Foxhall, who is an offshore sailor and an Antarctic expedition skipper, turned into 11th hour sustainability manager, was pulled away due to practice, sailing practice. So he sends his best regards. But the good news is, our other speaker is here, and I'm confident that you'll enjoy his in-depth knowledge about the Southern Ocean, thanks to his extensive research in Antarctica. I'm very pleased to invite Dr. Rodolfo Werner, Senior Advisor on Antarctica and Southern Ocean at the Pew Charitable Trusts and the Antarctic and Southern Ocean Coalition, known as ASOC. Please welcome Dr. Werner. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Let's get comfortable.
Yep.
All right. Excellent. So let's just jump right into your work in Antarctica and the Southern Ocean. What type of wildlife have you experienced down there? What has it been like? Tell us what that experience is.
I've been in Antarctica for the last 20 years, every single year, and so you know, the encounter with the wildlife, it's amazing. The amount of humpback whales, for example, the different species of seals, penguins, you know, it's amazing to be there surrounded by this very huge landscape covered with ice. Ice is the thing in Antarctica. When you go year after year and you see the species, which are great, but the ice always, you know, capturing you because it changes, you know, the size, the color, the different types of ice that you encounter there.
And how did you even manage to begin your research down in Antarctica? Was it just one day while you were, you know, doing your thing, you were like, I want to go down there? What drew you to Antarctica?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long story, but to make it very short, like as a child, I was always very captured by the poles, by the polar exploration. I always wanted to be an explorer. And then, you know, actually, Captain Jacques Cousteau was for me a big influence, and I decided to study marine biology because of that. And so I went through a lot of, you know, I got my different academic credentials, and until I established myself as a research on elephant seals and sea lions, but I was in Patagonia, so I was more working in the field in Patagonia. But after that, I started to move into working in Antarctic issues, and actually I moved from being the scientist, and now what I call myself is a kind of a facilitator, because I work as a bridge between the science and the policy. And this is what I do. So I go to Antarctica, I'm there, I charge my batteries there, and then I go to these very long days, boring political meetings, wearing the suit and the tie, and trying to represent the voice of those that do not have the voice, which are the penguins, the seals, the whales, the albatrosses, the krill, the Antarctic krill, the small crustacean, which is the basis of the marine ecosystem food web.
Wow, that's incredible. And you mentioned, okay, being the facilitator between the science community and policymakers. And when I hear you say that, I immediately think of marine protected areas. So what is the current status of marine protected areas in the Southern Ocean?
Yeah, that's a very important question, and I'm very glad that Richard mentioned the partnership with the Pew, Bertolli, Ocean Legacy, and ASOC, and the fact that CAMLR, he mentioned CAMLR. For those that do not know CAMLR is the Convention for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, a very long name. That's the reason they use the acronym CAMLR. It's part of the Antarctic Treaty System, and it's a convention that regulates all the activities around Antarctica, for example, fishing. And so in the context of this convention, there is a process now that's been going on for almost 20 years in order to establish marine protected areas. And one of the challenges is that every single decision in this convention should be taken by consensus. So we're talking about 26 nations and the EU, so 27 members. So everybody has to agree. And we were lucky that in 2016, after many years of work, we got to establish the marine protected area around the Ross Sea, which is the largest marine protected area in the world. And the fact that we managed to establish that marine protected area was telling us that it was possible. It is possible to establish marine protected areas in Antarctica. So now we've been working for the last many years on 3 other proposals. One for the Weddell Sea, which is the eastern side of the Antarctic Peninsula, eastern Antarctica, which is the projection of Australia into Antarctica, and the gem, the Antarctic Peninsula, which is the place that is below the Cape Horn, and that is a very, very unique place with wildlife and a lot of features that make this place very important, and also very much affected by climate change.
Right, and so a lot of the wildlife that we've been seeing in your slides here, all these photos, by the way, you took on your own camera. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
There's one particular photo that I noticed is the one of the crab, the crab-eater seal, who is on a piece of ice with about 3 to 4 orcas underneath. And so they were hunting, am I right?
Yep. Yeah, this is a type of hunting that is conducted by a certain type of orcas, killer whales. And normally they target Weddell seals because they're bigger, they're fatter, they're slower. In this case, they were targeting this very smart crab-eater seal. And so we were looking at this adventure. Actually, it was the most incredible wildlife spectacle that I saw in my life. They were chasing or trying to capture this seal for like an hour and a half. And so they were, foaming, swimming parallel, going down, producing the wave, trying to wash out the seal from the piece of ice. Sometimes they did, but the seal, which we named Kevin, by the way, and so
you named him Kevin?
We named him Kevin.
Oh my God.
So we had all the shape. It was a big shape, people watching and cheering at Kevin. And Kevin would just get into the water and come back. And sometimes he would put the head in the water and look, when the orcas were coming, in order to be prepared for the wave. And at one point, he did that, and when the orcas were going down, he just swam away.
This is the photo right here. That's Kevin.
Yeah, that's Kevin. So he swam to another piece of iceberg, and we were all, cheering, saying, "Oh, Kevin, no, don't do that." But the orcas were totally lost. They came out of the water. They were doing this spy hopping they do, and they couldn't see Kevin. Then they realized he was in another iceberg. They went over there, and they started with the same game until there was a moment in which Kevin put the head in the water, and when the orcas were coming, just swim away like a torpedo and run away or swim away. And so he was safe. So it's a happy ending for Kevin.
Kevin survived.
Kevin survived.
And Kevin's story is one of many of all the different species of wildlife that live in Antarctica and the Southern Ocean that desperately need protection through marine protected areas. And so how do we connect that? Once we create these MPAs, how does that speak to the inherent rights of the ocean, and how does it help us in our mission to protect the Southern Ocean in the right way?
Yeah, exactly. This is a very long or a very vast issue, but the convention has been dividing the whole Southern Ocean in different regions, and for each of one, they're making proposals for marine protected areas that are covering certain features, such as ecological features. So there is a lot of work in order to come up with a proposal. So once we get this network of marine protected areas around Antarctica, then we'll be in a good place when it comes to protecting Antarctica and the Southern Ocean. And in the case of Antarctica, I think it's very important to understand that every single species that lives in Antarctica feeds on krill, or something that feeds on krill. So all the wildlife you see on land or on ice or flying, like albatrosses, petrels, whatever, and everything species that's in the ocean feeds on krill. So the ocean is key. There are no terrestrial environments in which animals could feed on, and that's a very important feature.
Now, krill are these incredible little crustaceans that are about the size of our human pinky, perhaps, around there?
Yeah.
Ish?
Yeah, Sorry.
No, and I was just going to say, and they swarm together in these massive groups, and that's what these different wildlife will feed on.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is that krill is actually a common name to describe 80 different species of little crustaceans.
80.
80, that look like a shrimp, but they are no shrimp. But in this case, is the Antarctic krill is the largest, 6 centimeters they could grow, and is the most abundant animal on Earth. And so they are huge. The biomass is very big. And so this is what sustains all life here in Antarctica.
Wow, wow. And just a fun fact, World Krill Day is August 11th. So for us to raise awareness about the importance of krill, I think it is important that we have things like that. So more of the public will understand the specific role of a species like krill. Now let's finish up just talking about what NGOs are doing right now to help create these new MPAs, and what is the role of youth in all of this?
Yeah, when it comes to NGOs, every single organization that is trying to work on the Antarctic Treaty or this convention, CAMLR, has to do it through an alliance which is called the Antarctic and Southern Ocean Coalition, because we have the observer status in those meetings. So we can sit there, we can produce documents, we can work intersessionally with scientists, with politicians, in order to push and promote the different issues. We also do a lot of communications, and we also have been producing some short films. So we do a lot of things trying to get the attention on one side of the scientists, the politicians, but also the general public. And when it comes to the general public, the youth, it's very important. And I have to say that something that came to my mind recently is that as a generation, we have done very well in teaching the kids about these issues. So now the kids, they're really embracing this from a small age. In our case, we needed to learn that over the years. And so I think the youth, of course, they are the future, and I think they need to have a strong voice in order to call politicians, because these decisions on marine protected areas are being conducted at a very high level. We're talking about the presidential level. And so because of that, we need more, the public to be more outspoken, and the youth. And that is an important thing. And when it comes to Brazil, since we are in Brazil, we are trying to get Brazil to be more active at a very presidential level to promote marine protected areas in Antarctica.
Fantastic. Well, Rodolfo, thank you so much for being here with us today, and we appreciate all the great work that you're doing for Antarctica and the Southern Ocean. Please, a round of applause for Rodolfo.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Sorry. Great. Thank you again, Rodolfo. So for a long time, female sailors were not included in professional sailing events and other opportunities to participate simply because of their gender. But nature teaches us that if you want to succeed, diversity is the key to strong and effective collaboration. Initiatives like the Horizon Project by Gak Pindar or the Magenta Project are both supporting women in the sport of sailing. As we spoke about with Rodolfo earlier, ocean policy is vitally important to achieving a healthy future for all. Next, we have Andre Abreu joining us from the Tara Ocean Foundation, where he's the head of ocean policy, and we'll hear about the recent landmark achievement in the High Seas Treaty and the work that Tara Ocean is doing with policy related to ocean rights. Thank you, Andre. Welcome.
Hello all. It's a pleasure to be here. I would like to thank the Ocean Race Organization and the Team Biotherm also to manage this invitation to the Tara Ocean Foundation to speak about the high seas, because we are just living an important year for the ocean with the approval of the High Seas Treaty in New York by the UN after 15 years of negotiation we are carrying in the United Nations. But I will start to give a brief overview on the ocean policy process we are living now. Just to speak, to tell you that I'm from Rio, I'm Brazilian. I'm in France since 20 years, but I was in the Earth Summit in 1992. I was 18 years old, and I was converted in an ecologist there by Jacques Cousteau and by others. But at that time, the ecology, the sustainable development were not blue. It was essentially green. We were speaking essentially about forests. When the Climate Convention was launched, the ocean was not there. Since the Paris Treaty in 2015, the word ocean was not present in the climate documents. So we are living a moment where, at the same time that we are in a crunch time for ocean policies, for Antarctica, for the high seas, for MPAs, but we are also living a moment where people are becoming aware of the ocean as the main driver for the climate in the planet. People are starting to understand that these tiny creatures, like the krill that Dr. Rodolfo just mentioned, are producing 20% of the oxygen we breathe, are the basis of food, of the food web we are eating. So this is a really important moment, and there's a third revolution I would like to mention, is the science of the oceans. We are living the decade for ocean sciences, and we are trying to reach 2030 with a healthy but also a predicted ocean. Why? Because we need to understand the changes the climate change is imposing, the threats, to adapt, to anticipate. So we are really living a decade, an ocean decade, not only an ocean decade for the sciences, but a policy ocean decade also, with important decisions that are now being concrete. And 20 years ago, 20 years after the Rio Summit, I was again in Rio for the Rio Plus 20 conference. And there, in the Rio Plus 20 conference in 2012, we launched officially the informal negotiations for an international treaty of biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, the High Seas Treaty, that was launched officially in the UN system in 2012. And since then, I'm working in the UN for this treaty, and I'm really excited that this year, finally, we approve it. It's still not signed, it's still not ratified, but we approved a treaty for the high seas. The high seas, colleagues, is half the planet. It's 70% of the ocean surface. So we are speaking about the driver of the ecosystem services of the planet, if we speak about the high seas, with a life which is unknown, it's little, it's smaller than krill, actually. We are calling now the ocean microbiome, but it corresponds to 70% of ocean life in terms of mass, of biomass, and it's still largely unknown. So the science is progressing, the policy processes are really reaching some important decisions. We are still waiting for the deep sea mining moratorium this year. We struggled for the decision in the last sessions of the International Seabed Authority, but it's still possible to have a moratorium on deep sea mining, which will be really a victory for the NGOs and for ocean community this year if it arrives. We are struggling for the SDGs also, for the Horizon 2025. So important decisions are being made for the ocean. And I'm really convinced. I'm working for an ocean policy for some 15 years now, and I'm really seeing a change because people are behind it. Sailors are behind it. Races, that ocean race, racing with purpose, it's a big change. 20, 30 years ago, it was not common to see sports like the ocean race, big events, to embrace seriously the issue of ocean policy, like it's the case for the ocean race. And I thank you, the organization of the ocean race, to take it seriously and to organize these summits and to propose a declaration for the ocean rights, which echoes on the Treaty of the High Seas, actually, because the high seas are half of the planet. We are saying high seas must be considered as a common, as our home. So half the planet can be protected, can be considered like our home planet. And the idea of the ocean rights come to support, to give traction and vision to the concrete decisions we are going to take for the high seas. And I'm very happy, one of the victories we had with the High Seas Alliance colleagues in New York was the fact that we won't need consensus to approve MPAs in the high seas. This is very important. We are seeing what happens in the Kamlar Convention for the Antarctica. 2 countries, big ones, but we know which ones, are blocking the MPA's proposal for 10 years. Professor Werner can give us more information on that. So we will have MPAs in the high seas because of this qualified majority decision that was taken. And it's quite important for the future of this high seas policy. But coming back to science and coming back to sailing boats, I was mentioning the revolution of the sciences for the ocean with the decade for ocean sciences also. And this is quite important because we need now information on what is happening with the ocean biology, with ocean life. We need information on how this ocean microbiome is being affected by climate change. And only with a decentralized oceanography, we are calling it Oceanography 2.0, we can reach the amount of data we need to understand what's happening with biology in the oceans. Because we have information on the physics of the ocean. We have the radar, sensors, satellite information, but it's like when you are sick, you have a fever, you take a thermometer and you see you have a fever. But if you understand what is going on in your bacteria, in your microbiome, with your viruses, with your defenses, you cannot act to solve the problem, to solve the sickness. So with the ocean is the same thing. It's not enough to have physical information. We really need to collect a huge amount of biology data to understand more about how these tiny organisms like diatoms, protists, viruses, cyanobacteria are doing together, are resisting or not together, the resilience of these organisms, etc. So the way to get it, this kind of worldwide information on ocean biology, is to give to citizens and to sailors the possibility to contribute. And in this way, we are very happy to make this partnership with Team Biotherm for the Ocean Race, because Biotherm is carrying a very innovative sensor. It's not a sensor, it's a camera, it's a cytobot, which is taking millions of photographs of the plankton during the cruise. This is very, very nice for science. This is a new step for collaboration with sailors, because we don't need permits, we don't need, it's only photos, it's only images. And it's much simple than to sample life and to put in the freezers, etc. It's quite complicated for a race like that to do a biological sampling in the ocean. But it's becoming easy, and it's becoming accessible to all that wants to contribute. Now, I'll finish there. That's you guys, you sailors, you sailing community has a possibility to contribute, as the Tara Foundation is doing with Biotherm. And just to finish, I'd like to thank the Tara Foundation to push this issue. It's a family foundation, like Tobin family a bit, but then they're not Olympic champions, but the hero of the foundation is a boat. It's not one or another, it's that boat, which was called Antarctica,
when it was built. After it was called Seamaster by Peter Blake, that unfortunately was shot dead aboard of the Tara boat here in Brazil. But now the boat is continuing the dream of Jean-Louis Etienne of exploring Antarctica and the Arctic, and the dream of Peter Blake of a more sustainable ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. We really appreciate that full synopsis of current ocean policy. That was a great summary. So if you haven't checked out or read the High Seas Treaty yet, the approved version, please do check it out online, and some of the reports give a great synopsis as well. So I want to test the waters. Todo bem? Todo bem? Thumbs up? Okay, I'm going to test your energy. When I say ocean, you say rights. Ocean? Right. Ocean? Right. Yes, thank you all. So we are so close. We have one more panel before our next break, and then after the break, we have our second half of our program. So thank you all for your consistent attention. We appreciate it. So as we spoke about earlier, it's essential that we respect indigenous knowledge, traditions, and cultures, because guess what? That's the only way we'll be able to pursue good governance of the environment. And what can we actually learn from our past to build a better future? Here to talk more about traditions that can support the recognition of the inherent rights of nature, please help me in welcoming back Kereshu, the Secretary of Environmental and Territorial Indigenous Rights of the Indigenous Peoples Ministry. And she is joined with Dr. Erica Fernandez Pinto, who coordinates Sacred Natural Sites Brazil Initiative and is an analyst from the Chico Mendes Institute for Biodiversity Conservation. Please welcome our two speakers. Okay, so Erica, can we begin with you, if that's okay? You're part of the international group of experts on cultural and spiritual values of protected areas with the IUCN. Can you tell us about some of the interesting work you've been involved in, and why is it so important in the context of nature's and ocean rights and indigenous rights? Why is this important research?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am not fluent in English, but you asked me to talk in English, so I will try, and I'm sorry by my mistakes. As a member of this international group, we talk to people about that work with science and with politics, about the attention to the relevance for the sacrality of nature, the importance of sacred sites, and the importance to recognize different relations between culture and nature. And we write recommendations for international panels, guidelines, good practices, manuals, and also we do some projects trying to protect these places in ground. Because this kind of value, this sacred life, the sacred, oh my God, sorry.
You're doing
sacredness of nature are the base of our connection with nature. And, but most of time our society forget this. So first of all, we try understand the subject. And how we understand the subject? We go to dialogue with indigenous people and originary people, because they know what we forget. So everything starts with this dialogue. We cannot talk about this subject without do this connection with originary people from this territory. We are here today with Guarani people, and they are the original people from this land. But most people here in Itajaí don't know this. They never have seen them. They never listen their voices. They never see their faces. So it's very important to have moments like this and put them, not only sit here together with us, but also in the other block, in the other side of the wall also. And let me see. This is a new discussion here in my country. We have lots of sacred sites in Brazil. The initiative already recognized more than 1,200 sacred sites, like places like this. And, but we have so many threats under these places, many pressures, and we try to protect not only the places, but the traditions and people that take care about these places.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. It's such interesting work because, like you mentioned, these sites can be forgotten because of modern day development and other things, and the disconnection from our histories and disconnection from indigenous peoples. And so with your work, I mean, have there been any of these sites here on the screen right now that you found particularly interesting?
Oh, we have hundreds of places like this in my country and millions around the world, miles and millions maybe. Near the ocean, we have bays, rivers, lakes, beaches, springs, waterfalls, rocks, mountains. That sacred sites are special places that ancient people since many years ago recognize that have a special energy. That is something different that you can find. These places are considered important to keep the balance of all the life in the planet. So the indigenous people has identitary relation with this place. For they is what connected the spiritual world with the earth world. So if this connection is cut, they die, all the history die. We lost the meaning to be in life, the meaning of our existence. And I think that in our society, we feel this. We lost the meaning of the existence. And so this is important to pay attention about these places and the connections that are still alive, because this is not one ancient issue. It's something that is alive. The indigenous people are still there. They suffer a lot. They disappeared in many places, but they still doing this very important work for all the humanity, taking care about the nature, taking care about these sacred places, and they keep safe some important keys to change our ocean problems and nature problems also.
The reconnection to those places are key. And Erica, I have to say, your English is perfect, whereas my Portuguese does not exist. So full disclosure, we had meetings with Querechu to discuss our questions today. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions, and Querechu has her prepared answers. So we'll move forward that way. And thank you, Erica. If you want to translate at any point, I'm happy and welcome. So thank you. So Querechu, do you think that recognizing nature's and ocean's inherent rights can bring us in better harmony with nature, like our ancestors when they were worshiping certain locations, ecosystems, and alignments?
Então, como eu falei no início, nós, povos indígenas, né, nós trazemos dentro da nossa memória, da nossa história, toda a origem da criação do mundo, né? E isso para nós, esse princípio de tudo é o que a gente carrega hoje como uma responsabilidade para nós, povos indígenas. Então, a gente sabe que antes de qualquer ser existir aqui, esse mundo, ele era feito, né, dos grandes mares, e que na história, né, na história do povo Guarani, que quando Nhanderu, o criador de todas as coisas, ele se formou, ele era uma chama de fogo. E da criação dele, o primeiro ser que ele cria é o beija-flor, né, que ele surge, né, e aí ele começa a criação dele, e nessa criação então tem o beija-flor. E o beija-flor, como todos sabem, ele fica voando e batendo, né, tem aquela energia do beija-flor, que para nós também tem um símbolo muito forte da sabedoria. E nesse voar do beija-flor, ele toca numa chama de fogo e encosta no mar, nesse grande mar. E a partir dali, então, começa a criação da terra, né? E aí, a partir dali, começa o surgimento dos vegetais, começa o surgimento dos animais, vai, né, os surgimentos das pedras, e por último, somos nós, seres humanos. E aí, então, desses seres humanos, né, que somos nós que fomos criados, nós viemos com poderes, que é o poder de pensar e o poder de agir, que é o fazer a transformação. Mas a gente só veio com esses poderes para a gente cuidar dos nossos irmãos, para a gente proteger os nossos irmãos, que são esses outros seres que surgiram, né, antes de nós. Então, assim, para nós temos muito essa relação muito forte com a questão de todo esse direito da natureza, porque nós somos natureza, nós surgimos dessa criação. Então, é por isso que a gente tem essa responsabilidade, nós não estamos separados. Nós, né, como eu falei anterior, nós somos filhos de uma mesma mãe que nos sustenta, que nos alimenta, e de um mesmo pai que nos criou. Então, nós devemos esses cuidados, nós devemos essa proteção. E é dessa maneira que a gente também, hoje, nesse cenário, a gente defende os direitos da natureza, que são os nossos direitos. E os povos indígenas, então, trazem isso como um princípio de vida. Então, falando sobre a questão da Mata Atlântica, eu me sinto bem... que eu sou parte dessa floresta, né? O povo Guarani, ele é dessa floresta, né? E aí eu falo agora, o povo Guarani é dessa floresta como povo, e acho que hoje todos que habitam nessa floresta são parte delas, né? E aí trazer mais uma vez essa responsabilidade para nós. Mas vou falar um pouco sobre a questão da Mata Atlântica. O povo Guarani, ele tem essa caminhada, né, pelo litoral do Oceano Atlântico. E aí, eu sempre falo assim, né, cientificamente, quem pesquisou o povo Guarani, né, nas universidades, falam que nós somos nômades, né, que a gente não para em um lugar, a gente fica andando, né, de um lugar para o outro. Mas para nós, povo Guarani, nós trazemos muito a questão da mobilidade, de fazer o movimentar da terra, né? E aí, assim, a gente precisa fazer esse movimento, a gente precisa fazer essa mobilidade, porque se a gente para, a gente morre. Tudo que não se movimenta ou está doente ou está morto, né? Então, nesse sentido da vida que a gente faz essa mobilidade. E por que aqui no Oceano Atlântico, né? Na margem do Oceano Atlântico, na Mata Atlântica? Porque dentro também da nossa crença com o povo Guarani, além do grande oceano está a terra sem males, né? Que é o que a gente busca da terra, né? Em busca da terra sem males. Antes do contato, não existia morte para nós. Existia o momento da consagração do nosso espírito, do nosso corpo, e a gente era levado por uma grande nave de embarcação que vinha até o nosso território e nos levava para a terra sem males. Depois, com o passar do tempo, principalmente a questão da nossa alimentação, então veio como penalidade a doença e a morte, porque a gente não soube viver nosso corpo, né? Então, hoje, o que eu falo sobre a Mata Atlântica? O cinturão verde de proteção de todos os outros biomas. Porque para nós, como povos indígenas, que tivemos o impacto em 1500, onde as caravelas chegam e dão diretamente nesse espaço da Mata Atlântica. E por aqui começa toda a colonização. Então, assim, a gente está aqui, nesse cinturão verde, na resistência. Na resistência, tanto nós como floresta, como seres humanos e todos os seres que habitam nela, né? E aí eu queria trazer também aqui para nós, né, agora, que nós somos um tripé dessa resistência hoje, né? Porque hoje o problema mundial não afeta só os povos indígenas, não afeta só as florestas, afeta todo mundo. Ele vem e vai impactando a vida de todo mundo. E nós temos um tripé muito forte de resistência de seres humanos também, que é o povo indígena, né, que são os povos originários,
que são os povos tradicionais que estão na luta, que são os negros, né, que vieram, e também os que estão nessa resistência de preservar tudo isso, mas também do europeu que veio para cá e convive, mora aqui e sobrevive desse lugar. Então, a responsabilidade é de todos nós.
That was very powerful. Obrigada. So, Erica, can you tell us a little bit of what you think about recognizing nature's and the ocean's rights within legal systems here in Brazil and globally? How will that help us bring harmony, and not only for the planet itself, but for us and nature?
Well, we are in a meeting here discussing about this subject, and I was watching the speeches before, very nice, and I think that like sailors, many people here, you have the opportunity to see what, like nobody else, the beauty of nature, the power, the dangers, the magic, the mysteries of the oceans and of all the land. Some of you have been in wonderful places in our world and meet incredible animals, and I cannot realize how you feel or what it means, how it can be special. But I think that it's a gift, it's a challenge, but it's also a responsibility, because you can see also the problems and the social and environmental problems. And one thing that I learned with indigenous people, and mainly doing rituals with indigenous people, sacred rituals with indigenous people, is that we cannot find solution for our problems with the same mind that create the problems. So normally when we do environmental discussions in politics ways, we are talking about how to do the greenwash, how to clean the garbage. And we don't care about the real roots of the problem. So this connection with indigenous people, originary people, can bring us to pay attention in the roots of our problems. And they have the memory of the earth. They have the chants that sing the creation. And they have all this. They was here in our land before we came here and before everything that's happening now. So when they call about the reverence with nature, is because the reverence make us to pay attention about what we are doing with our earth, with our planet. And it makes us take care about what we are doing. So I think that's very important when we need to connect these initiatives, because we cannot do nothing alone. We will not solve the problem of the ocean collecting plastic in the beaches. It help for our maybe...
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid. It doesn't work in the real symptoms of the problem, the real reasons, origins of the problem. So when we do these connections with other ways of life, other knowledge, or other wisdoms, we can think about different solutions for our problems. And so it's an invitation to work together, not only with minds, but put together also the hands and the hearts to build, to learn with the past, to change the present, and to build a new future.
Thank you, Erica. That was beautifully said. And so we are now officially out of time and we're moving on to our break, but I want to say thank you. We are very grateful for both of you being here today to talk to us and to remind all of us how important reverence for nature truly is. And as we move forward, how can you connect with nature more often? It's our responsibility as individuals to find those opportunities and to be inspired by the traditional communities and indigenous peoples of the world. So thank you both again. Please, another round of applause for Kereshu and Dr. Erica. Muito Muito obrigada. Thank you. Excellent. You can leave the mic. Great. Okay, so now I'd like to offer you a moment to think about your connection with nature, and we call this a Blue Mind moment, where you think about a time that you may have spent recently or at some time in the past that made an impact on you near water or in the water. And so a few years ago, I was traveling to Mexico, and I happened to go into the ocean about 5 miles offshore, and I swam with this beautiful, peaceful creature, a whale shark. It was my first time in the ocean with such a massive animal, and it was truly humbling to be in the water with a whale shark. But this video, I watch it all the time because it reminds me of why I continue to dedicate my life to ocean advocacy. It's interactions like this with wildlife that will completely change your perspective about life as a whole. This is my Blue Mind moment. So in the next 10-minute break that we're gonna have, we have refreshments for you in the back. Please discuss with someone, meet someone new that you've never seen before, and tell them about your own Blue Mind moment, whether it was sitting next to a beautiful beachside or swimming with wildlife. Share that story with others, and let's have great conversations. And we'll be back here in 10 minutes.